Hello, this is Murray Carter from Carter Cutlery coming at you with question and answers part 6. Today we'll tackle some personal questions. Question number 1, I know that you originally moved to Japan to study karate, and do you still practice these days? Yes, I do, and with my share of the profit from Carter Cutlery, I've hired this guy named Kato, and I instructed him to jump out and attack me any time of the day, totally unprovoked, just so that I can keep my reaction time up to par. Question number 2, what is your favorite blade above all others? Well, you probably know that I carry a neck knife and I use it literally tens, if not 100 times a day. A great tool for everything from spreading peanut butter on a piece of toast to scraping solder off of a knife guard, cutting up whatever you need to cut up. I've got lots of videos on that. The other kind of knife I really like to use is a new knife, which I'm going to tell you about in an upcoming video, called the Perfect Model Kitchen Knife. I kind of stumbled on a knife pattern and a shape and a handle design that has just absolutely blown me away in terms of its ease of use, its joy of use, and its overall convenience in the kitchen, and we'll have a video of that coming up very shortly. So I do like using practical knives, although everyone can enjoy looking at some exciting Bowie knives or bigger kind of battle blades. The fact of the matter is they just don't get used very often, and so they don't fall into the realm of a favorite. What advice would you give an aspiring knife maker? Well, a lot of people say follow your passion, and in this case, if you have a passion for bladesmithing, by all means, give it a try. And if you have the aptitude and the attitude, the right attitude for it, then you want to start going to knife shows. You want to read everything you can. You want to forge as many blades as you can, forge them in batches, give them away, get feedback from your customers, learn as much as you can, and try to stick to one steel type until you master it. At a young age, did you think you'd run your own business, or did you stumble into it? To be sure, from a young age, I always liked to be self-accountable. I was pretty much a self-starter. I'd go down into my dad's workshop and start projects. Some of them were constructive, some of them were destructive. I remember taking lots of things apart, sometimes getting them back together again, often not. But when I didn't get them back together again, I often took the parts and made something completely new out of them. Usually wasn't very useful what I put together, but at least I let my imagination run wild and took joy in doing things with my hands. In high school, wasn't too keen on being told what to do and where to go and how to spend my time all the time. I actually went to a private boarding school, so there was a lot of that. And I think that's where I got my hunger and desire to be self-employed and to be my own boss. Now, of course, ultimately, even when you run your own company, you still are answerable to your customers. So there really is no such thing as being completely autonomous and self-employed unless you have a trust fund and you can just sit home on your sofa all day long and not be answerable to anybody. Okay, have you ever forged something other than an edged tool? There seems to be a natural evolution of people who get into smithing. And you notice I didn't say bladesmithing, all smithing. People get into it, and some people immediately get into bladesmithing. Some people get into architectural blacksmithing, and they like to make fences and railings and chandeliers and doorknobs and so on. Some people get into highly ornate and intricate metalwork. Some people get into doing just file work. For some others, it exposes them to things like engraving and scrimshaw. And I think a lot of people will try their hand at all sorts of different disciplines and then naturally gravitate towards the ones that both interest them the most and ones that they identify as having some skills in. And maybe in some cases they'll go into areas that have a lot of opportunity and promise from a commercial perspective. So yes, myself, I've also done that. I've done all sorts of architectural blacksmithing projects, and I've made hinges and locks and fences and railings. But to be honest, for me, I like at the end of the day, having a really, really sharp edge on a piece of steel that I forged. And so I naturally gravitated to bladesmithing, and I've never looked back and really don't have too much interest in doing anything outside of just bladesmithing. Is it hard on the body to be a full-time knife maker? It is absolutely hard on the body to be a full-time knife maker. And after 27 years of bladesmithing now, I actually have to take the Wednesdays off. Midweek, every week I have to take Wednesdays off just to let my hands kind of recuperate. If I work in the shop 5 days in a row, my hands will be crippled over the weekend. So I take Wednesdays as an opportunity to do administrative work, contact people for future projects, pay bills, do all sorts of things that you need to do to run a business that don't happen when you're in the shop making knives. If I could go back in time, I would have done that right from the get-go, which is work Monday, Tuesday, rest on Wednesday, do administrative work, write books or make videos on Wednesdays, and then go back and work a Thursday and Friday and recuperate on the weekend. I really pushed myself very hard in my young years, and my hands and my back and neck are starting to take the toll. Another thing too that I've started doing recently is every 2 weeks I get a full body massage. It's a deep tissue massage to relieve stress and to promote blood flow and healing, and it's kind of like preventative medicine. And since I started that a couple of months ago, there's no looking back. It costs money, but if you're self-employed and you're working standing on your feet, especially like on a concrete floor, you cannot afford not to look after your health. So I strongly and highly recommend a proactive health regimen, which also includes a good healthy diet and lots of laughter if you can find it. Okay, and the last question. Your knives are designed to perform exceptionally well. Thank you. How do you feel about customers who buy your knives for a collection and don't use them much at all? Well, that's a tough one to answer. Of course, when I make each and every knife, I'm making it and anticipating it's going to be used and appreciated and sharpened and become part of an essential piece of equipment for the customer who buys it. But it is true that when a lot of customers get our knives, they are suitably impressed with their performance and they want more of the same. And when something comes out with a different handle or a different blade configuration, they feel like they're really getting great value for their money, and so they buy more of my knives. Some of our customers have 10, 20, 30 of our knives, and naturally they can't use them all. It does give me a lot of conciliation that at least they're using several of their knives, because I ask them, I say, hey, which knives are you using, when I talk to them on the phone or through email. And they are using my knives, it's just that simply they can't use all of them. And so while I have this romantic notion that each and every one of my knives will be used daily and loved and cherished, the reality is that yes, there are several very generous and kind and supportive patrons who purchase more than the knives that they can actually use. Hopefully in the future one day they're going to turn around and sell those knives for much more than what they bought them for, and that's my job to increase the perceived value of my knives and to protect their investment by not doing anything ever that would tarnish Carter Cutler's reputation. Okay, well that's part 6 for our question and answers, and tune in next time for question and answer part 7, and we'll get back into more knife making questions. It's Murray Carter from Carter Cutlery saying stay sharp.